Hey guys, in the upcoming video here I do the rear brakes on this 2012 Mitsubishi Lancer. Now I'm just doing this little intro because the intro on my original video got corrupt and all you really missed out on was me taking off the back tire. So if you're watching this video, I'm sure removing the back tire is something you can handle. But anyway, I appreciate you watching and let's get into it. Alright, now we're going to take off our back caliper here. Loosen off the two caliper bolts on this car. They're 14 mil or 9/16. Now we've got this little rubber tab here. We're just going to go ahead, stick a screwdriver in there and pop it out. The rotor's got a ton of corrosion here, so we're just going to spray it before I give it the hammer, just in case it doesn't come off easy. That'll have a bit of time to soak. Try and get it off. We need a bigger hammer. Here it comes. Beautiful. Beautiful. Now, as you can see on the inside of this rotor, it's basically like a brake drum, and that's where your emergency brakes are. They're on the inside of this rotor, and they look good, but I wouldn't worry about replacing them this time, but definitely next time. The box will come with a bunch of clips, and essentially this is where the pad sits in and slides. I don't like to change these, but these ones are really corroded, and they have a lot of buildup, so I might just go ahead and change those. The reason I don't like changing these is because I find the aftermarket ones are sometimes just made a little bit different, and in the past they've caused me a lot of trouble squealing and whatnot. So just clean up your area here a little bit. Doesn't need to be anything major. Just where they sit. And they just press in. I'll get a smaller hammer. Tap them in place. And there's a new clip. So we'll do the same thing to the top. We'll pop the clip out. It's exactly the same. There it is. These areas should be fairly clean because your clips just came off of here. But you can give them a little scrub. And set it in place. Tap it in. And there we go. Now with these pads, they're made different. There is a front and a back, and I'll show you that here shortly. However, this one is the rear pad, and it'll sit inside the grooves where we just put the new clips. And it's gonna be a bit tight because new pads, paint, and clips. But we'll go ahead and put the rear one in. So before I put the pad in, I'd like to put some anti-seize on the inside of these new clips. Just put in, just like that, real quick. The car doesn't sit much, so it's not a major worry about them seizing in there, but nonetheless, we'll put those in. Now on the back side of the pad here, I like to use this product called Disc Brake Quiet. And although this has a piece of material here that's supposed to eliminate any squealing, I'm going to go ahead and put some of this. It's like a rubbery silicone, and it'll just bond the pad to the caliper just like that. That's all I need. And you want to make sure your curved part of the pad is facing the outside, the same shape as the rotor. So you just push the bottom in. Something else this pad comes with is this little clip right here, and you can put your pad in first if you'd like, or see where you think it should be, but I'm just going to put it on the top right here, on the top of the pad. All this does is gives the driver a bit of a warning, so that when the pad gets close to being worn down, this metal piece right here will start to rub on the rotor and it'll squeal. And that's just basically a sign that the pads are wore out and they need to be replaced. Okay, inside pad installed. Now we're going to go ahead and install the rotor. Now, something I'd like to do before I install the rotor is put a bit of anti-seize around the inside here where the metal really likes to corrode. Just in case I'm the guy doing this next time. I know the rotor's going to come off nice and easy for me, and this will actually help prevent any corrosion. I'll throw a little on the studs too. Okay, here's our new rotor. We're going to go ahead and throw that on. Pretty easy. Just goes on anyway. Line up your studs, push it in, and that's it. It's installed. Now I pushed this back pad in a little more than it needed to be, just so I could fit the rotor on. I'll just push it a bit closer to the rotor, just so it's not as hard to get my caliper on over top of the pad when it comes time, and there it goes. Okay, we got our rear pad in, our rotor on. Now we're going to go and put our front brake pad inside the caliper. So here's our pad that we have not removed yet, and our caliper that we have to push the piston back in on. So we'll just, this has got tabs on the back, and if you want you can just bend them in more and then give the pad a little tap with the hammer, break it free, and it pops right out. And as you can see, we definitely got our money's worth out of that pad. So now we're going to go ahead and compress this piston, and you need to do this because as the pads wear, the piston pushes out to take up any slack, so that when you hit your brakes they're immediate and you're not always compressing that gap. So with new pads we have to push this piston back in, and I just like to use a big pair of channel locks, and that's pushing in real easy. And there we go. If that's hard or stuck, then there's a good chance that your caliper's bad or your flex line's bad. It's typically the caliper, but it could be the flex line as well, just to mention in case it happens to you. So here's our outside pad. I'm going to go ahead and put some disc brake quiet on it too, just as a little extra precaution right where it sits on the caliper, and that'll help hold it, stop any noise. So again, the curved part on the curved part of the caliper, and you just push it in there. And if you move this little tab out a little bit, it'll help you get it started. Just like that. Now you can see it sits flush. There's two little grooves on the back side of this pad, and they sit inside holes inside the caliper here. But anyway, this pad is flush. Now this caliper is ready to go back on. Hey guys, so I moved on to the other side now. I didn't realize it, but the temperatures are really dropping here and it's gotten pretty cold. and my camera stopped working. But anyways, we're pretty much at the same point as we were on the other side. Now I'm using this stuff by Clean Flow. You can use whatever you want, but it's for the caliper pins. Once you get your caliper back on, you can just take a bit of this pin grease and just put it in the hole, just like that. Just get a bit come out, put it in. As far as the pins go, I clean them up on the bench grinder. I got a wire wheel, but just put a bit silicone on the pin like that. These pins basically just go in the same way they came out. Just push it in, and there's a rubber boot right here that keeps the dust, water, debris out. So everything's lined up there now, and we can just push the pin in. This top pin does interfere with the flex line a little bit right here, so it's a lot easier if you actually put that pin in first. Then you can move the caliper side to side just to squeak it by, tap it with a hammer like I did, and then put your bottom pin back in. So now we'll go ahead and tighten those up. So we're tightening our caliper pins back up. Now that caliper pin grease is a special grease. It's a good idea to get it because it just really, it doesn't break down with heat, and I mean not too many people probably get out and touch their brakes if you've done some braking, but they can get pretty warm. Something to note too when putting in your pins, if you put too much caliper grease, this is just a totally, this right here is a cavity that the pin slides in and out of, and if you put in too much grease, it'll actually force the pin out, and it'll put pressure on your caliper, and it'll cause your pads to wear prematurely, or your tire may not even turn. If you have trouble getting your caliper pin in, then you've probably put too much grease, so you don't want to do that. Just enough, just put a little bit inside the hole, and then cover your pin like I did. Slide your finger across the pin with the grease, and that's it. Make sure these are snugged up. And there we have it. I got the new rotor, new pads, everything looks good. Now we'll just go ahead and put the tire back on and call it done. Okay, there we have it. Tire's back on. I'll torque it once I get it set on the ground. And then after 100 kilometers, I'll double check the torque again, since it is an aluminum rim and they have been known to come loose. And that's it. So there you go, guys. Rear brakes on a 2012 Mitsubishi Lancer. Hope this helps you guys. Hope this gives you the confidence to do it yourself. And we'll talk to you guys soon.